This is the Hout M16. As you can see, it has 16 buttons, comes in an all metal enclosure, which actually makes it quite heavy for its size. It's very dense. Speaking of the size, it's pretty small. Look, it's about the size of my entire hand. But surprisingly, it doesn't feel too cramped to me. I don't know why that is. Maybe I have little dainty fingers. Maybe I got piano hands, but it doesn't feel too cramped for me. The buttons we'll get deeper into in a second, but they are mechanical and have Kale V2 low profile red switches inside. The same as the T16 that we took a look at a couple weeks ago. It's got this little LED display right here to kind of just show you the status of everything going on, which is a nice touch when you're configuring things or when you're trying to troubleshoot why it's not working or why it is working. It's running GP2040 software, which allows for a great amount of customization through the web configurator. This software allows for native compatibility on the PS3, the PS4, the Switch, and of course Windows, but it also has this pass-through port on the top. If you can see it right there, there's a little USB port that allows you to use it on the PS5, which I'll show you how to do later in this video. A lot of people asked that on the last video, which is my fault. I kind of failed to mention how to use it on the PS5, but then I left like a pinned comment, and I was like, here's a link to the Hout support article that shows you how to do it, and then I kept getting comments because nobody likes to read. So this time, I'll hold your hand, I'll walk you through the park, I'll walk you through how to use this thing on the PS5. Don't worry about it. All this in one package for about $100. On AliExpress, it's listed for $98. On Amazon, if you're in the US or Canada, it's listed at about $114. Let's talk about these buttons real quick. When I spec'd this controller out, I requested these little caps because I thought they looked better. This is kind of like what comes on it by default, but I actually pulled the transparent ones out of the T16 that I had in my closet, and I found that these feel a lot better for me. It's all personal preference at the end of the day, but the transparent ones definitely feel better to me personally. And I have a few theories for this. One is that these caps are really thin and they allow for the kill switch to go all the way down into the button well here, like where it's drilled out. It can go all the way down so that it's almost flush with the hole there. And that gives it like more travel distance, I guess, which some people like. Like, to be fair, some people like that. I just don't. I like it to where it actuates just enough for the button to activate, and then it pops right back up. And that's kind of what these do. And I think, my theory is that it's because of this little lip. You see, if I put them side by side, transparent one just have like a bigger lip, which I think hits the bottom of the button well faster and almost at the exact point where the switch actuates. And it makes it feel a little bit better and a little bit more responsive to me. But remember, it's personal preference at the end of the day. Now, when you go to order this controller, if you're interested, you can order it on Amazon if you're in the US or Canada and get it a lot quicker than you would off of AliExpress. But the only version that you can buy on Amazon is the one that comes with these little black caps, which you might end up liking. I don't know. If you want to configure it more, you can go on AliExpress, which does global shipping. It just takes a little bit longer. You can configure it with these transparent ones. I did email the Hout guys back and tell them that they should make a listing that lets people order it with these caps. So I don't know. If they get back to me and they do add that, I'll put it in a pinned comment so you can check down below for that. Let's talk about this case a little bit next. It is fully aluminum alloy and it feels very premium for a $100 product. Like, no joke, it's probably the second nicest controller that I own, only second to the Victrix, which is 4 times more expensive, by the way. But the one drawback is that it's pretty small, which I'm not used to playing on yet. Like I said, it's the size of my hand. It's almost the exact same length as like a Snackbox Micro, and I'm just not used to playing on a controller that small. But I am getting there because I just like the feeling of this controller so much that I've been learning how to play on it over the larger Victrix. I found that because it's so small, I can tuck it in closer to me and sit up straighter with my elbows back and kind of out, and it feels much more ergonomic. It feels like I'm back in band class in middle school and I'm sitting up straight playing the saxophone again. It's much more ergonomic than like hunching over the Victrix, which has that big old lip that you have to sort of just rest your arm on. This just feels like in the long run it'll be better for me, so I'm trying to learn how to play on it a little bit better. I will say, though, the one drawback, and you'll see it as we continue to make the video and as the video goes on, it is a fingerprint magnet, dude. It will hold any smudges or fingerprints that you put on this thing, any type of sweat that gets on this thing. It will hold it, and you will have to clean it very often. Like, and my hands, I don't sweat a lot, and my hands aren't dirty. And I know my hands aren't dirty because I wash them obsessively, brother. The backs of my knuckles are bloody. I wash my hands so much because I'm like scared of getting sick. When I was a kid, I was like a very sickly kid, and people used to say it's because I don't wash my hands enough. Turns out my elementary school was just so moldy that I got condemned after I left. But that's a whole different story. The point being, I wash my hands obsessively, and even I leave smudges on this thing. So after like a tournament run or a rank session, you need to clean this or you will feel like a disgusting animal when you look at it. We'll take a look at the software now. This is probably what's most important to you guys who are trying to find the PS5 stick or find a way to play on the PS5. So first thing you're going to have to do is get into the web configurator before we can do anything else, and I'll show you how to do that. You're going to unplug it, then you're going to hold down the start button right here, and while you're holding that down, you're going to plug the controller in. You'll see the screen right here is in config mode, and we'll switch to the PC and I'll show you how to get into the web configurator. So you're going to open your browser and type 192.168.7.1 and that will open up the GP2040 web configurator. We're going to go to settings. This is where you can kind of change basically everything that you could want about the controller. We're going to focus on making it PS5 ready, but anything that you want to change in here, you can find all this stuff as well. And if you need help with that, you can always go to the GP2040 website, and there's a wiki that will show you what all of this stuff means, and you can find everything there. For PS5 purposes, we're going to go to configuration. We're going to go to add-on configuration. We're going to scroll down to where you see PS pass-through and PS4 mode. And we're going to make sure that PS4 mode is disabled. I know it says enabled here, but see how the little check thing is to the left? That means that it's off. If it's grayed out, it's off. You're going to need to make sure that PS4 mode is off and that PS pass-through mode is enabled. And this is enabled by default on the HAL, like when you first plug it in. So it should be like this already. If it's not for some reason, just make sure it looks like this. Then you're going to want to go home. Sorry, you're going to want to go to settings. Then click this drop-down menu. Click PS4. Then make sure this says arcade stick. It will default to controller. You need to make sure it's arcade stick. And then you're going to scroll down, click save, then go up here to reboot, click reboot as controller, and then you can close the tab. If you need to get back into this web configurator and change things, you're going to have to unplug and replug the controller back in config mode like we did before. So now you can see it's in PS5 mode. But this doesn't mean that you can just plug it into a PS5 and it works. You're still going to need one of these adapters. I have the Brooks one. You can get the Magic Boots too, whichever one you want. I just happen to have this one. And you're going to plug this in to the port on top of the controller here. And then you're going to plug the controller itself into the PS5 like you normally would. You can see the Brooks is lighting up and stuff right there as well. So that's how you get it to work on the PS5. But you do still need to pay like $60 or converter. I think the next question is, how does it compare to the competition? But once again, it's hard to compare these HAL 42 controllers to any of the competition because the value is just unmatched. Like I said, this is genuinely the second nicest controller that I own. I have Hitbox arcade controllers in there. I have junk food ones. I have a Punk's Workshop controller. The build quality of this thing is unrivaled at the price point. I mean, half of those controllers that I just listed are 3D printed. They are plastic for $250+. This is metal, brother. How do we compare $250 of plastic, of filament, to $100 of machined aluminum? Like, it is almost uncomparable in my eyes. If you want a new controller anytime soon, get out, my friend. Unless you have the budget to build your own controller where you can get some more value out of it and get nicer parts and stuff like that. If you're not willing to commit to a project like that and you don't have the budget for it, the HAL is all you need. Like, there's no need to shit on Hitbox or Junk Food Arcades or anybody this time. The quality of this thing speaks for itself. We don't need to punch down anymore. All right, lastly, I have to compliment HAL on their documentation once again. This time we got a little pamphlet, which gives you all the information you need to customize and configure this controller. Just a quick little nod of the cap to the manufacturer for this, because it really does help the end user a lot more than you would think. But that's all I got. If you got questions, leave them down below. Subscribe to the channel. Check out my Twitch if you don't mind. I've been streaming a lot more. I don't have a lot of Twitch viewers because I don't really advertise it very much. So check out my Twitch if you like me, if you want to see more of me. I'm there. I'm here on the channel. Subscribe, like, do all that stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for making these videos possible, and I'll talk to you again real soon.